Hare Krishna. Welcome to ISKCON of Silicon Valley and to our celebration of Gaura Purnima. Today is what we call the appearance day. We don't say birthday generally, it's just to distinguish an appearance. It's also a Sanskrit called avirbhav, a way in which when we're dealing with Krishna, he does come to the world, but not like an ordinary conditioned soul. We say a conditioned soul is obligated to take another birth because of karma, whereas Krishna is free from karma. He is never touched by the material world, although he comes here for his own purposes. Some of them are listed in the Bhagavad Gita when Krishna says, Paritranaya sadhunam, vinashaya chaduskritam, dharma samstapanartaya, sambhavami yuge yuge. He says that he comes to establish principles that people can thrive by. That is, when people have a clear idea of what the goal of life is and how to execute it, then they're much better off than to be left to their own devices. When left to their own devices, people generally tend to be on a retrograde course. And Krishna comes to help adjust that and give people something to live for that's the highest goal of life, which is actually to realize that we're not part of the material world and we have a relationship with Krishna, God, in the spiritual world, and to go back there. And he also likes to curb the tendencies of people after they develop tendencies to harm others, or to create policies that in general harm others, including humans and animals. That happens also when people get influenced by the lower modalities of the world. They tend to be a little bit violent, a little bit, really violent. So this is what Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, why he comes to the world. And Krishna is known as Swayam Bhagavan, or he's the original person from whom all others emanate. That is, he's the source of everyone and everything. So this is the definition of the Supreme or God, also called Bhagavan, which means the all-opulent one. And Krishna is a name for God, but it's a very appropriate name because it means that he has all attractive qualities and attract everyone. Krishna has a variety of incarnations, so to speak. Really, in Sanskrit, they're called avatars. Avatar nowadays means something else. It's been skewed a little bit from the original meaning. Literally, it means one who crosses down from a higher position to a lower position to give some assistance. So there are many avatars, Krishna, or you can also use it as a verb. Krishna makes his avatar. He makes his descent into the world for the purpose of doing good. And so today is called Gaura Purnima, and it's the time in which Krishna appears in a very special avatar named Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. So this is the golden avatar of Krishna. Krishna and Radharani, now I'm becoming very esoteric all of a sudden, are the supreme deity in the spiritual world, but when they combine into one, that's Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. And he has many purposes for which he comes to the world, which maybe we'll talk about in a few minutes. Krishna comes in every yuga, and he presents a process in each yuga that's appropriate. A yuga is a time frame, and it's easy to think of it in terms of seasons. Seasons have various characteristics, and we have to adapt to those characteristics in order to get the most out of them. And similarly, the universe has cycles or time periods that have characteristics. And each one of those time periods, there's a suitable means for the mass of people to practice spirituality. It makes it very accessible and effective. Of course, any way somebody practices trying to connect to God is always helpful and good. But to make things simple, Krishna, God, has representatives come at different intervals in order to teach a method that's especially adaptable at that particular time and place. Just so happens we live in a time period when we get a discount. Yay! You don't like discounts? You know, coupons, discounts, half off, 25 cents, 25% off. This is more like 99% off, maybe even 100. You just have to be there, basically. The age we live in, and I hate to, this is a family show, so I don't want to get all negative, but in this particular yuga, there's a kind of drag on people that makes them slow to take to spiritual practice. A lot of distraction, and in general, people are quarrelsome in this age. Have you noticed that, or is it just me? People are getting more quarrelsome. And so there's a very simple process in this age called Kali, and it's the chanting of the names of God. And specifically mentioned is what's called Sankirtan in Sanskrit. The Sang means together, and Kirtan means glorifying or singing, can also be writing and speaking and so forth. But together in a community-like environment or family-like environment, singing the names of God together. And this is said to be the Yuga Dharma, everyone say. Yuga Dharma. So the particular practice for a particular time period, and that's what we're in now. So one of the ways that we celebrate Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, the incarnation of Krishna, who appeared very recently, only a little over 500 years ago. In geological time, that's a second. And he taught the Yuga Dharma, which is called Sankirtan, or the chanting of the names of God. And he did it himself. Charity starts at home. In his hometown, when he was young, he started a home program at his friend's house, Srivas Thakur, Srivas Pandit's house. And at first, it was by invitation only. Have you ever been to anything like that? Have you ever been omitted from something like that? Yeah, so sometimes you don't get to go. So in his hometown, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu started this invitation-only kirtan, and they do it at night. They'd start in the evening, and then they'd chant all night long. And only certain people could come at that time because he wanted to have a pristine environment, people who were not really appreciative of the process, or just curious and wanted to look or just hang around. He didn't allow in. He was very strict about that. So the first year there was a way in which people, everyone who came, had this very heartfelt desire to be there, and they had a very clear intention that they wanted to serve Krishna and to be together and chant with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the golden avatar we're talking about, who's the incarnation of Krishna. So he actually started the Yuga Dharma in somebody's house. So that's good to know, right? Yeah, you can do that too. If you have a house or a van, or a little space somewhere under a bridge, you can start a program and just invite your friends and you can chant. So he showed that. After a year of this RSVP, which people don't honor much anymore. In the old days, when somebody put an invitation, RSVP, and you RSVP'd, it meant you definitely had to be there, but not so much anymore. Don't worry, I'm not complaining. So he took the devotees, or he invited the devotees who had met for one whole year in Srivasa's house. This was in India, in Navadvip, a very sacred place. It's called Navadvip, means 9 islands. Each island represents one of the major practices of Bhakti Yoga. And they went out into public and they started chanting. This was never done before. It hadn't been seen. And so it was a novelty. We have a slight idea what that looks like, because in the in the 1960s, of course, there was a lot of experimentation going on with various kinds of dress and hairstyles and public displays and so forth. So it kind of went under the radar, but that was mostly New York and San Francisco, that laxity in the sense of anything goes. That's what it was like in the 60s, kids. And in the 70s, when I got involved with the Krishna consciousness movement, we were already going to many places around the world that weren't New York or San Francisco. And people were more conservative. And so going out and chanting Hare Krishna in the streets, out loud, in public places, was quite a to some people, what I'm looking for the right adjective. Novel is a little benign. What else? Huh? It was shocking to many people. Oh, Haribol Satyadev Prabhu. Yeah, people thought it was disturbing. So, oftentimes people would call the police because, what is all this? But that even happened when the first chanters in India, who were at Srivas Pandit's house, went out for the first time. And it was a mixed society at that time. There were Hindus and Muslims living together. In fact, the area was ruled by Muslim rule, but there was a large number of Hindus in the area, and they're the ones that complained. Oftentimes it's people who are kind of familiar with a process, and they think, no, we don't do it like that. Everyone has their idea. Have you ever had that in your family? A dispute from different parts of the family about exactly how to perform a ritual or do something? Well, this was way outside the norm, and a lot of the Hindus in the area complained. They said it was a nuisance, and they went to the government that was Muslim, and they said, we're Hindus, and we don't like this. Can you stop these people? So they sent the police, and the police came down there and said, you can't do this anymore. And just to prove that they meant business, they took several of these drums. You see this drum here? Hold it way high. That's called a kohl. Say kohl. Yeah. Some people call it madunga, which is more of a generic term, and very specifically is a kohl. It's made out of clay, so they're easily breakable. So the police came and they said, don't do it anymore. That's enough. They said, don't do this anymore, and they actually broke some of the drums. Nowadays, it's a little easier to get these, because a couple times in my exuberance and perhaps fanaticism, I ordered 108 of these drums and had them shipped here. Twice I did it. Because I had this idea that we'd go downtown San Francisco, and we had a map where we'd have everyone start from different parts of the city and then converge with 108 madungas right downtown and have a massive kirtan. We could still do it. Anyway, they had such a plan in Navadvip just to go out and chant, and the police came, broke the drums, and the chanters came back and they told Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who was their leader, and I'm speaking, sometimes we say Lord Chaitanya, or Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is a respectful way of addressing the Lord. Mahaprabhu means like the great leader, or the great, the chief of all of them. So he was their leader, and they came back, said, police came, broke the drums, they said, we can't do this anymore. And what did Lord Chaitanya say? He said, we'll see about that. So he put together a rally. It was a huge rally. More and more people heard about it, and they decided to join together. And one of the embellishments for the rally was it went off in the evening, and people brought torches. So people were making torches, lighting torches, and then they started a really big kirtan. And they headed towards the house of the governor's mansion. And by the time they got there were tens of thousands of people with torches blazing. And they went inside, or Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went inside, but the governor was hiding because he noticed, and there are different accounts in history. Some of them recount that the rally goers were slightly violent. They tore up his garden and things like that. Chaitanya Charitamrita gives a more benign account that they were just there, and they were formidable because there were so many of them. In any case, what he was called the Qazi, he was hiding, and when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to speak to him, the Qazi didn't come right away, but finally did come, and they started to talk. And one of the topics of conversation, the Qazi said, in our village relationship, I'm your grandfather. His grandfather used to maternal. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's grandfather, right, who was Mahaprabhu's maternal grandfather. They used to call him, the Qazi, uncle. They were very close. In fact, there was a very close relationship between Hindus and Muslims at the time. They all lived together and cooperated. Anyway, I won't go into the political history of the whole thing. Things always get weird in this world, one way or another. But the Qazi said that, you should remember, I'm actually part of the family. And then Nimai, this is the name of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at that time, before he had taken sannyas or monkhood, he said, I'm your nephew, so why are you treating me like a stranger? You should be nice to me too. And so with that icebreaker, they sat down and they talked philosophy. And they came to an agreement by discussing back and forth. And the Qazi, at the end of this, because there was a heartfelt discussion, said, you can have kirtan anytime you want. It's open for you. And not only that, I guarantee it for generations. Any generation that comes from my family that's in charge here, you'll always have availability to do this chanting. So that was the very beginning of what we call the Sankirtan movement. And that was what's called the Yuga Dharma, or the process of chanting God's names together. And there's a way in which you can do it publicly, and it does have its effect. Right, Vaisesika? Can you say when you heard the kirtan here in Palo Alto? She was walking around the street, minding her own business, and we were having a kirtan. How many years ago was that? 7 years ago? Okay. 8 years ago. I mean, could we have
Hare
tech
Krishna.
support on? Yeah,
Yes,
go ahead.
that was in 2015. I was just walking with friends, and they were telling that somebody's going to sing here. And when I just heard your voice, Guru Maharaj, when you were telling about mind and that it's so wild, and only chanting this Maha Mantra we can pacify our minds and live. So I just didn't know the tears was in my eyes. I didn't understand what's going on. I just knew that's what I was looking for. That's it.
And the next morning, we do those kirtans on a Friday night. She was here on Saturday morning. And she's still here 8 years later. So the Yuga Dharma, or the chanting of Hare Krishna, when people hear Hare Krishna, it's not an ordinary sound vibration. It's said to be a transcendental sound vibration. And hearing the name chanted by those who are practicing devotional service means that they're trying to serve God. It has a very special effect. It can really change the heart and make one eager to know more about it, at least. And oftentimes what happens is people who have already a sense that there's more to life, when they hear Hare Krishna and they see the chanting, there's a profound effect it has on the heart. Our Satyadev Prabhu was a sincere seeker around 1969, and he had gone to Japan. He got a discount ticket. He had an uncle there. He had some opportunity there, but of course he was thinking also that, well, Japan, maybe there's something spiritual over there, right? Good so far? And what was it like? Did you meet the Kirtan party there? Could we give Satyadev Prabhu a microphone so he can testify? He's in the back row, so we'll have to move heaven and earth to pass a microphone back in 7 seconds or less. Or we'll have to give him his money back from tonight's gathering. Tech support on aisle 2.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I was a good specimen, because even though I grew up in San Francisco and I was in Golden Gate Park at the same time the devotees and Prabhupada were there, I never ran into them. So I didn't know anything about Hare Krishna or the teachings, or I'd never seen devotees. But when I was in Japan on my lunch break, the temple had probably just started there about 6 months before. And there was a chanting party in the place where I was going to take my lunch break. I was teaching English there. And there's some pretty heavy-duty chanters in that party. Madhuvisa was there. He was one of the first devotees to actually go out and do Harinam. And Kirtan Ananda and Sudama was there, and Kartikeya wasn't there, but he was taking care of Prabhupada. And Chintamani was there, and Borijan Prabhu, and Amoga, and let's see, who else? Tamal Krishna Maharaj was there.
Wow, was Jagatarini there?
Jagatarini wasn't there. She hadn't come yet. Oh. Anyway, I was just so enamored by the Kirtan party and the mantra that I just joined the party, and then we went out walking down the street, and they invited me to come back to the temple with them. And so I just didn't show up for work. I just went back to the temple, and that was Janmashtami. So I stayed the night, and then next day was Prabhupada's Vyas Puja, and Prabhupada was also there. Wow. But so he came the next day. But I just remember the Maha Mantra was just going over and over in my mind as I was sleeping at night. I felt like I'd hardly slept, but I felt refreshed. But the mantra just like infected me. I'm still a little bit infected.
Thank you, Satyadev. So, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared in Navadvip. It's a place in present-day Bengal. And he had different stages in his life. The first stage as a baby, of course, and then there's a way in which when Krishna appears in the world, he has a transcendental body. It's not a material body. He says, Janma karma cha me divyam, that that my appearance, my activity, my body, they're not material, they're transcendental. So although it appears to be, well, he's very beautiful, but some people mistake that, oh yeah, he's just like us. But he's making this point in the Bhagavad Gita that I have a transcendental body. So for his what's called lila, or his pastimes, he assumes different kinds of bodies up until youth. And then he keeps that youthful form around the age of 16 years old, normally. So in his early stages, he performed his lila. Lila means like the play of God. In other words, what I go through is because I was forced actually to go to kindergarten. It's like, you have to go, sorry. And I was like, wah. Same thing with high school. I didn't want to go. So that's why I joined the Hare Krishna movement. So so there was, God's not forced. He's doing it as play. And he has his purposes, as I mentioned before. So he has a transcendental baby's body, and then a youthful body, and then he assumes a kind of adolescent body. And in his early pastimes, he's a very charming baby, and then in his very youthful pastimes, he was a scholar. He emerged as such a great scholar in Navadvip that he started his own school, even when he was just a child, really, and everyone wanted to study under him because he was so brilliant. And even his teachers recognized that, well, he's way smarter than we are. And there was a huge incident in Navadvip, which was a learning center for the world, where a great scholar came, and at that time one of the sporting events of the age was debate. Our Serbi, I don't know if she's here tonight, but she's a debater. She'll maybe be on the public so we can watch her on TV one day, debating. So that was something that people did to establish who was the greater scholar. So there was a scholar that came to town who was world-renowned, and he was very impressed with himself. He traveled with minions, and he had elephants and pomp and circumstance when he arrived. But when he met the young Chaitanya, who was at that age called Nimai Pandit, Pandit means a scholar, and he was defeated. Just very casually, Nimai Pandit met this person at the edge of town before he even came to town with the intention of debating all the big scholars. But he met this young kid who defeated him so soundly that he had a revelation. In fact, in his dream, his worshipful deity Saraswati, who's the goddess of learning, said, "You just met the Supreme, so there's no way you're going to defeat him." And he went back and offered himself in service, and he changed his mood in life and became a great devotee of Lord Chaitanya. Nonetheless, at that time, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, or Nimai Pandit, didn't reveal himself as the Supreme. He was just the most beautiful person anyone had ever seen, and he was also the greatest scholar anyone had ever encountered. And then there was a time at which he met his own spiritual master. So this is something that happens in Krishna's Leela, that he shows by example how to follow a spiritual path. And one of the most recommended aspects is to find a spiritual teacher and then enroll with that person and take initiation into the line of the teachings that are coming down. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who was teaching by example, met a very great devotee named Srila Ishvarapuri. And he had met him once, and then he met him again. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's father had passed away, so he went to a city called Gaya. It's a very famous place where people go to offer some special prayers and their rituals to benefit the departed relatives, called the Shraddha ceremony. And when he was there, he met this revered person, Srila Ishvarapuri, and he requested him, "Can I become your disciple?" And Srila Ishvarapuri said yes. And so he did Chaitanya Mahaprabhu initiation from his then guru. Then, when he came back from getting initiated into his hometown called Navadvip, this place called the Nine Islands, he was different. He had a change of heart. And now he was exhibiting his Leela, or his pastime, as being a devotee. Of course, he's the supreme, but he comes in such a way to show how we can actually follow the process by following it himself. I've heard that teaching by example's not the best way to teach, it's the only way to teach. Because if you say one thing and do another, there's a cognitive dissonance, and people say, like, well, it must not be a real path. But Lord Chaitanya is Krishna, but he comes to show people how to follow what he said already in the Bhagavad Gita. Because he gave a lot of good instructions in the Bhagavad Gita, right? And how many people do you know that follow them strictly, or even know how to follow them? So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was Krishna, but he wanted to show how to follow the teachings of Bhagavad Gita and live a devotional life, so he did it himself. So he took a spiritual master, and when he came back to Navadvip, all those who were already devotees noticed a change in him. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as I mentioned, started this Sankirtan. And then he opened it up to the world, and there's a line of teachers that come all the way from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is called Disciplic succession. One person who dedicates his or her life to the practice of Krishna consciousness then becomes fully absorbed in it, and then others meet such a person and say, can you show me how to do this too? And such a person might say, of course, I'd be happy to do that. In fact, that's one of the main purposes that Krishna mentions in the Bhagavad Gita. He talks about what's called parampara. Evam parampara paptam imam rajashayo vidu. He says that there's this system called one after another. So one person learns it, and then they're supposed to, in their town or on their TikTok or wherever they are, they're supposed to inculcate the principles to other people so that they can also take advantage of it. So it's a movement in the sense that the movement means the teachings that go out to other people. And these centers like we have here, you see a little brick and mortar situation here. This is meant to accommodate those who have heard the teachings and want to follow them. Maybe they got a book and they read it. And they say, how do we do this? So this is sort of a meeting point. And then there are thousands of meeting points in people's homes where they can also take it up, because after all, didn't it start in somebody's house? Yeah, a lot of good and very successful companies have started in people's garages. Haven't they? I can name two. One is Hewlett-Packard. Hewlett-Packard met in a garage, and they did okay, right? I like my HP printer. And how about Steve Jobs and Stephen Wozniak? He didn't even have his own garage. He just used his father's. And they did okay, right? Yeah, it was all right. Not bad. So you can start in your garage, and this is a kind of entrepreneurial movement that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu started. In fact, it's mentioned in the main book about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's life and teachings, which we highly recommend. Just, when was it? Yesterday when we met? And was that, what is today anyway? Monday? We met on Saturday, I think. Sunday? Didn't we meet Saturday also? And Sunday morning. Oh, that's why I'm confused. We met on Sunday morning, not Sunday night. And people came in the door and they were demanding the Sri Caitanya Charitamrita. I don't know who told them about it, but people came in and they said, where is my set of Chaitanya Charitamrita? I heard you have a night. Hey, Sadhu Vrindavan's back. Now that's big news. Hari Bol Sadhu. Hare Krishna. People were coming in, so many people. They rang that bell. Could you hit that bell up there, Bali? Like that. We'd hear the bell ring, and then they come around the corner and they say, where's the Chaitanya Charitamrita? And we'd say, well, who told you? And they say, well, a friend told me, and they had one, and we didn't get one, and so forth. So there was this, we were a little nervous, actually, because there was a little unrest. So many people wanted to have it. So we got up here really quick and we offered people who were demanding the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Oh, there it is there. I guess there's still from the helter-skelter that took place, there's still one sitting there. And 360 people, they either took the sets themselves or they designated them for other people just on that Sunday morning. And that book, the Sri Caitanya Charitamrita, is about the teachings of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and also it tells about his life. It's his biography. So one of the ways that one can advance spiritually is hearing from these books. It's the chanting is a succinct way to, and a very direct way to be directly. It's a direct way to be in touch with the Supreme, and because we're humans, we have an intellect that has to be satisfied as well, right? And so these books actually, they present things in very reasonable ways. And there's also an aspect of the aesthetic. We also like poetry, and we like to see that there's some intelligent presentation. It's not something sentimental. Although even if someone can't read, if they could just chant Hare Krishna, then they'll advance in spiritual process anyway. But there is that special feature that one can get from these types of books. So the modern day Krishna consciousness movement is basically following the footsteps of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, whose appearance day it is today. And anyone can join. There's no restriction. You don't have to be from a certain place or from a certain country or anything like that. It's universal. It's a universal principle because behind the physical body that we have right now, we are all spiritual beings. We're spiritual souls right now just occupying a particular physical body. And I hate to be the one to break it to everybody, you don't get to keep it. It means the body you have right now. So it's a vehicle, and it's meant to be used for the time that we have it in order to attain what we call Krishna consciousness, or consciousness of God, which really means to develop a relationship with God, which is a bit of a misnomer because we already have a relationship with God, but it's been a little bit on hold because we're distracted by other relationships and we've sort of forgotten it. So Krishna consciousness is a way that we become recharged in our relationship and reconnected in body, mind, and spirit to our relationship with Krishna. So now, one of the ways that is especially powerful is, as I mentioned, Kirtan and singing. So we're going to try to sing together a song which is appropriate, given the background I just gave you about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And this song is called Shri Nam. So in Bengali, Nam means, in English, name. And Shri means beautiful. So the beautiful name. And this song was written by one of the great teachers of bhakti named Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Everyone say Bhaktivinoda Thakur.
Bhaktivinoda Thakur.
And he's speaking in the voice of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So in this verse, it says, Nam Gaya Gaura Madhusvare. So it means that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu started this Hare Krishna movement by chanting in a very sweet voice. He would sing and people would listen, and then they'd become attracted and they want to sing too. And then in the first line, after the chanting of Hare Krishna, which you'll see in just a minute, he says in Bengali, Grihe tako bane tako shada hari boli tako. That it doesn't matter where you're from. It makes this very clear. This is a universal movement. It's not based on any kind of caste, creed. It doesn't matter what sex you are. It doesn't matter even if you're an animal. And we invite animals too. They don't normally come that much unless we feed them. But a lot of other people come too when we feed them. But there's there is a way in which animals, they're also spiritual beings, just like us. So are trees, and so are ants and termites. They're all spiritual beings. They just have different bodies temporarily, that's all, by the laws of karma. And so he says, in a very general way, grihe means a house. Grihe tako bane tako. Bane means the forest, which also means if you live in a van. So you can live in a house or you can live in a van, and it doesn't matter, because the main thing is, he says, sada, which means always, hari boli dako, which means always keep this vibration going. So this is the main teaching of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. What is the main teaching? Keep the transcendental vibration going. Yeah, and if you do that, K, T, T, what is it? K, T, T, V, G. You can get a tattoo on your way home. Or, just drop it at the end of an email so that people have to write back and say, what does it mean? And then it's like, well, we have this books. There's 9 volumes. It's only $99 for the whole thing. And it tells all about it, right? Is that what you do? Yeah. So that's the first thing he says. Then he says, he reminds everybody that actually the life that we're living in the material world is a kind of a struggle. And he quotes out like, Maya jali badahoye, acho miche kaj lode. And so he says you're caught in a net. And this net of illusion, it makes us work very hard and for very little results. And even if you do get a result, then you're in anxiety because you think, somebody's going to take this from me. And so he says, best thing is to take up this process of worship through chanting. So he says, if you do that, then you'll feel satisfied. And then he says, Jivana hoy lo shesh, nabhaji le hrishikesh. He said, if you actually count up how much time you've spent in your life so far, you'd be really shocked to see, as he's saying in this song, that you haven't spent that much time really trying to reach God. Mostly we're busy all day long, right? Okay, only 3 of you are. Yes? Yes. Okay, everyone has to move up by 7.2 inches. Don't worry, we fit as many as 3,000 people in here. So this is nothing. Nothing. So he says, Jivana hoy lo shesh. Now this is a little shocking, so make sure you're sitting, on solid ground when I tell you what this means. You may be a little shocked. Are you up for it? Yes. Okay. Jivana hoy lo shesh. So shesh means the end. So he says your life, life means jiv, like we're living beings, so we're alive in this body right now. But he says your life can be over at any minute. I mean, that's something that maybe we know in the back of our minds, but so that we push away and we say, oh, that's for later. And my parents used to tell me that as a kid. I used to complain a lot about death when I was a kid. They thought I was, something wrong with me. And there was, definitely, still is. So I'd say, I don't want to die. And they say, well, that's a long way off. And I said, I don't care when it is, I still don't want to die. And so that was a big thing for me. And when President Kennedy got shot, when I was in kindergarten, I said, now I know there's some kind of scam going on here, because that's not supposed to happen, these kinds of things. So, Jivana hoy lo shesh, nabhaji le hrishikesh. He says something very shocking at the end of the song. He says, your life can be over in any minute, but you haven't really taken the time to really lean into worshiping God. You really haven't, he's saying. I'm not saying. He's saying that you haven't done this enough. So he says that Bhakti Vinod, Upadesh. So Upadesh means advice. So he's leaving us with a little advice. He says, Ek bar nam rashe mato re. So mato has this sense of a kind of, if you've ever had anything like that made you swoon, it was so tasty that when you took it, you just you almost fell off your chair. Have you ever had anything like that? It was that good? Well, it's that times 1,000. He said, you can get this taste in spiritual life. It's so good, it can't compare to any other taste in this world. And this is called matto. It means that you feel this kind of intoxicating happiness. And he says you can get that from chanting. So he said, Bhaktivinoda Upadesh, ek bar. So ek bar means one time. He said, try for this. Try to get it at least one time in your life. What do you think of his advice? So that means you got to work for it a little bit. It may come automatically. It may come as a free gift. And you also might get an honorary degree from Harvard. I mean, someone might just come to your house and knock on the door and say, we've chosen you to have an honorary degree to Harvard. Might happen, right? Yeah, it could happen. So you can also get this taste, but it's better if you enroll. Enroll in the process and say, no, I'm going to try for this. That's what he's saying. Sign up. Don't waste time. You could die at any minute, to be frank. And you got to try to get this. And if you miss it, it's the greatest loss. And you could lose it at any time. It can slip out of your hands. So it's a very beautiful song. Would you like to sing it? Yes. Okay, here we go. Namgai Gaura Madhusvare. Can you make it a little bigger? Or is it just me? Namgai Gaura Madhusvare. Okay, it's all right. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna, Hare, Hare. Now everyone. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna, Krishna, Hare, Hare. Hare Rama, 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 Hare, Hare. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is singing the Maha Mantra in a very sweet voice. Madhu means sweet like honey. Now comes part 2. Grihe tako vane tako Sharahari bole dako. So in this section, he's saying that Sukhe Duke Bulonako. Whether you're in a really good situation in your life, you just got to raise, refrigerator's full, new treads on the tire, full tank of gasoline, leaning out the window. Or whether you just lost your favorite coat, your cell phone was inside, and somebody just discovered what your social security number is. Dog ran away with the neighbors. Said, Suke duke bolo nako. Whatever situation you're in, Vadane harinam korore. Keep chanting. Don't stop. Just because you're happy or because you're sad, you keep chanting. and everything good will come from that. Nam Gai Gaura Madhusware Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Try for it. Okay, part 3. Maya jalle bhatta hoye acho niche khajloye Maya jalle bhatta hoye eko noche tanate radha madhav nam bolore. So, Radha Madhav, everyone say. This is one of the names of Krishna and his eternal consort, Radharani. Radha is Radharani. And Madhav is a name for Krishna. There are many beautiful names of Krishna. Who can say another one that starts with Radha? Radha Madan Mohan? Everyone say Radha Madan Mohan. Give me another one. Okay. I've got a winner for you. Are you ready? Came from the front row. Paragarangi suggested Radha Govinda. Front row. Radha Radhanath. Let's try it. Ooh. This one's too nice to say. Should I do it anyway? Radha Shamasundar. Everyone try it. Or you can just say Radhe Sham. How do you feel now? Much better, right? So he says, this is the system. You chant Radha Madhav, Radhe Sham, Radha Govinda, Radha Ramana. All these are names of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the spiritual world with his eternal consort, Radharani. And if you do this, then your life will be supremely happy. Nam Gai Gaura Madhusware Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nam Gai Gaura Madhusware. Ready for the last line? Nam Gai Gaura Madhusware. Last one's a little scary. You want to do it anyway? Vimana hoilo she na bhajile Hrishikesh Shiva. as is the normal procedure for the appearance days of Krishna. There's festival, as we're having here, and part of it is what's called an Abhishek, which means a bathing ceremony. So the deity is obviously, we have a worshipable deity here. And someone may say, well, that looks like it's made out of stone. Well, that's true. However, because Krishna is the source of all energies, and he's the supreme controller, God has inconceivable potencies. For the sake of presenting himself to those who only see matter, because they have material eyes and haven't developed spiritual eyes, he agrees to appear in the world in forms that are formed out of wood, metal, paint, and so forth. Now, I'll give a simple example which may help to us to appreciate this way of worshiping God in the form of a deity. And just yesterday morning, when I was taking my daily walk, and I was coming down Burlingame Avenue, and just at the cross street before our house, I saw, which I've seen probably thousands of times since we've lived there over 36 years, the post box that's right on the corner. You know, it's got a kind of a round top. Does this sound familiar? It's made mostly of blue, maybe a little red. These are colors of the post office. And it's actually in the metal itself. It says U.S. Postal Service. Familiar? Yes. Now, when you mail a letter, there's a process. You take the letter or package and you just walk out of your house and you throw it in any box. Like there's a recycling box, you could put it there, right? Yeah? No. Okay, so somebody just bought a TV and they have a box sitting out on the curb and you can throw your letter in there, right? No. Really? Okay. No, you can't put it in any box. You have to go to the authorized box. And you also have to put a stamp on it. You also have to address it. There's a process. When I was in London a while back, I was sending postcards out to quite a few people, and there were some British devotees there helping me put all the stamps on them. They had pictures of the Queen. And in my haste, I put one of the stamps upside down, and they extracted it from the pile, and they said, this one won't go. I said, what happened? What's wrong? And they said, you put the Queen upside down. They won't send it. In America, they probably feel like, yeah, good, you put them upside down. We're a little more cynical over here. So there's a process also for approaching a Krishna in the deity form, and this is what's called, I know it's a long name, Pancharatra. There's a Pancharatra system. It's actually part of devotional service so that we have a way to see the beauty of God before we can actually see with spiritual eyes, which we haven't developed yet. And we can also offer things to God in the ways that are mentioned in the particular documents that have been passed down over many generations that tell exactly how to do that. So one of the ways that you can worship God in his form, deity form, is through a bathing ceremony. It's very joyful. So the deity will be placed on that brass receptacle you see in the center. In a minute, we'll all turn that direction so we can watch. And then all of those little vessels there on the left-hand side, those have different substances in them, like there's water, milk, ghee, honey, sugar water, maybe some fresh juices and things like that. So the deity will be bathed by the priests that are on the altar, and then we'll all sing. What do you think? Okay. And it looks like we're about to start, so please turn towards the deities. Within you, without you? You said we got to practice, right? Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai, Sri Gaura Purnima ki jai. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna So we're counting down the minutes until we have an artik in about, well, I won't tell you how long. We're just counting down. Just a few more minutes. So are you all comfortable? Would you like more air? Are you okay? More air. So if we could have our engineers, we have some who have master's degrees in getting air in here. Just AC, no, just prop it open this side, that side, and we'll have more air. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Nena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Caitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swa Vadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajata Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Saji Sadvetam Sadvajutam Brijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shivishakanvitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Amsha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhaktarinda Nitai Namineche Namirhate Shadamudyena Dite Chere Nitai Namineche Namirhate Shadamudyena Dite Chere Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So in the first session, we just talked about some of the basic principles we called tattva, explains the nature of Krishna or God. Maybe we touched briefly on the nature of the material world, as Krishna does in the Bhagavad Gita. And then we talked about how Krishna has his Leela. And the use of the word Leela doesn't, oftentimes the meaning is more by context, how great teachers have used a word over a long period of time. And one of the reasons that Krishna or God comes to the world to display his Leela is to give mercy to others, because as living entities, we're interested in relationships, we're interested in beauty. Correct me if I'm wrong. You don't want to be locked up in a room all by yourself, right? Even if you're on an airplane for a while and you haven't seen the light of day and trees and so forth, you get antsy, don't you? Yes. This is the nature of the soul, to see the free light and to see beautiful forms, to have loving relationships of all kinds. This is what everyone seeks through hard work, to have more time to do this. And Krishna comes to the world to show his Leela, or the way that he's interacting with his pure devotees, those who love him very much. And it has nothing to do with material relationships. It's not based on, if you satisfy me, I'll satisfy you. The loving relationships that Krishna has with his devotees are that they only want to serve him, and Krishna only wants to serve them. And when he shows these leelas in the world, it attracts the minds of those who are in this world. And as mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam, anugrahaya bhaktanam manusham dehamastita bhajate tadrishi kridha yashrutva tatparo bhavet. In a very instructive verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam, we hear that anugrahaya bhaktanam, Krishna comes to pull us back to the spiritual world. This word anugrahaya, sometimes it's translated as mercy. And if you break it down and look at the word, anu means to follow, and graha means a grabber, somebody who grabs you and pulls you in the right direction. So through the process of Krishna coming and showing his Leela, is manusham dehamashrita. He says that, the verse says that he comes in a form that we can relate to. One of the names of Krishna is Jana Nivasa. Jana means the people of the world, and Nivasa means one who walks among them. Jana Nivasa means somebody who comes and interacts with people. And so Krishna comes, and apparently he has a family, he has friends, he has lovers, he has parents, he has step-parents. Anybody? Foster parents? Anybody here? Yeah. All these relationships are there in Krishna's Leela. That's why they're here in this world, because this world's a reflection. So, anugrahaya bhaktanam manusham dehamashrita. Deha means a body. So he appears in a transcendental body, manusham, just like a human body. But it's very beautiful, perfectly formed. There's nothing that's not attractive about the body of Krishna and the way he moves and so forth. In fact, that song, something in the way she moves, it actually used to be something in the way he moves, but they didn't think they could sell that. George Harrison wrote that song. He was reading about Krishna in the Krishna book, and that's something in the way he moves. You can fill in the rest. So it does. The next line says, "Attracts me like no other lover." So there's this sense of Krishna moving in the world in a body that we can relate to. Manusham dehamashrita bhajate tadrishi kridha yashrutva tatparovavet. But what about if we weren't there? What if we didn't see it? So the last line says that shrutva. Yashrutva tatparobavet means that, okay, if you weren't there, you can still hear about it. And this is one of the great benefits of spiritual life and in the process of bhakti, and that is hearing about it is the same as being there. Isn't that amazing? So for instance, in the Bhagavad Gita, if you sit down and read the Bhagavad Gita, put a do not disturb sign on your door, you'll notice that as you enter into the 11th chapter, you know what that chapter is about? The universal form. Your hairs will stand on end. You'll think, boy, I'm right there on the battlefield, and what's going to happen? You'll be carried away by that. And when Krishna says, aham sarvasya parvavo, or he says, tesham satati yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam, and he's talking about himself, you'll feel that he's right there on the page. So yashrutva tatparovavet means that there's a way that we can experience Krishna directly and his Leela just by hearing about him. And by doing that, then anugrahaya bhaktanam, we're pulled back to the spiritual world by that process of hearing. So that's why Krishna comes and he performs his pastimes. Besides, he's got his own life. He wants us to come along, but he's absorbed in his own loving affairs. God has a good life. Credit card that never runs out. Anything he says goes, except with his mom in the spiritual world. So, in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Leela, he grows up in this city called Navadvip, and then he very impulsively takes what's called sannyas. If you there's a big death movement in Krishna consciousness. It started in London, and there are many devotees who are deaf, and they are practicing Krishna consciousness very enthusiastically. I met some of them starting maybe about 7 years ago, and I went out to distribute books because the leader of the organization there asked if I would show him what it was like to sell books on the street. And so I went out with him, and he sold more than anybody. He had an interpreter there, and they were doing this, but he gave me a book. He had to write a whole book about Krishna conscious signing. So do you know what sannyas is? Does anybody know what the term means? Sannyas actually means that, well, literally it means, sang means everything, and nyasa means where you put something. You have to put things in the right place. So sannyas means you know where to put everything, where everything belongs. You're supposed to use everything for Krishna. But it also means that you renounce the world, basically, and just say, no mas. That's it. I quit. I'm out. Take me off all your lists. And also, I don't want to have my, you can't follow me on cell phone, anything like that. Sannyas. And you put on saffron, and you travel the world without any cares. And you're supposed to hold a stick, like it's a staff you hold. So in signing, you go like this. Go like this. You're grabbing the stick, like you can take sannyas. Did you try it? Okay. Don't try it at home. Okay, so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he left when he was 24 years old. That's very early to take sannyas. And he left his loving mother and his wife, and he went off and took sannyas, and he was absorbed in Krishna. So one of the reasons he took sannyas was because at that time, everyone in the area where he lived, that is all over India, they very much respect sannyas. Even today, if people wear saffron cloth and they're carrying a stick, everyone will offer them something, bow down, invite them to their home and things like that. It was even more so back then. So he realized that people weren't taking the process of Krishna consciousness, the Sankirtan that he was teaching, very seriously. So he accepted the role of sannyas. And then he left home. And then there was a conundrum because he can't stay at home as a sannyasi, but everyone loved him so much, they didn't want him to go too far. So he met with his mother, and they agreed that he would go to a place called Jagannath Puri. And Jagannath Puri, it's an overnight train ride, or kind of a 2-hour flight. And however, it's the home of Lord Jagannath, who's also Krishna, a very important deity in the pastimes, the Leela of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he went there, and it said that the Navadvip where he lived and Jagannath Puri are like 2 rooms in the same house. So people would be coming back and forth between those 2 places. And when he went there, on his journey there by foot, he went with a few associates, and one of them was Nitai, or Nityananda, who deliberately broke his staff, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's staff, that he had just gotten when he took sannyas. There's a long story about that, but I won't go into, but it has to do with the mystery of the Leela that he's performing. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, after Nityananda broke his staff, became a little annoyed. And he went off alone to Jagannath Puri. And when he got to the Jagannath Puri temple, how many people have been to the Jagannath Puri temple? Yeah, so it's a very impressive sight. From a distance, you'll see the temple jutting up on the horizon. It's a grand sight, and it instills this sense of awe in one's heart. And the deity of Jagannath is very beautiful, smiling deity, and there's also Baladev and Subhadra. So when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to the temple and he entered, he looked at the deity and he saw Krishna directly, the form of Krishna playing the flute and very sweet smile, and he fainted. Actually, he was running to embrace the deity because in Vrindavan, where Krishna lives in the spiritual world, it's a very spontaneous mood. So people don't think that he's God in what's called Goloka, or the highest planet of the spiritual world. They think, there's my best friend, or there's my lover, or there's my son. You have to eat or you'll die, says his mother. And when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw Krishna there at Jagannath Puri, he ran to embrace him. And then he fainted. And then the guard at the temple, and it's even like this today, if you misbehave, they have sticks and they'll smack you. And so he was about to get hit, but there was a great devotee there, not yet revealed as a devotee, but his name is Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. He was the guru to the king, but he wasn't a devotee. He was a Mayavadi, somebody who believed that God is just energy. There's no actual person behind the whole thing. That's just an illusory idea that there is a personality. But ultimately, the highest truth is that we're all homogeneously merged into a nondescript state of energy. And so Sarvabhauma, nonetheless, was a very stately person, and he then did a little test on this young sannyasi, because Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya used to train sannyasis and teach them all about the intricacies of the scripture. This is getting really long. I'll try to come to the point. So he held a cotton swab up to the nostril of this beautiful young sannyasi who had fainted, and he realized that he was breathing very slightly, and he also saw other symptoms in his body that Sarvabhauma had read about in books, because he was highly learned and had read so many books, and realized that he was in a state, was this sannyasi, of ecstasy. So he had many disciples, and he called them together, and they carried the beautiful body of Chaitanya back to Sarvabhauma's house. Now, many of the followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had come after him and then had searched, where is he? Because remember, he got annoyed and he left. And he said, you can go in front or behind, but not with me. They said, we'll go behind you in case anything happens. So something happened. And when they got there, they were looking all over for them. By word of mouth, they found out that he was a house of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. So now Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, if you Google him, you'll find that he was the greatest scholar of India. He used to be able to read one book and memorize the whole thing. He had tens of thousands of students everywhere. He was famous. And here was this 24-year-old sannyasi that had just come to town, and Sarvabhauma had this parental feeling towards him. Now, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came back to external consciousness, Sarvabhauma offered to teach him about the Vedas. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu agreed. He said, yeah, you can teach me whatever you like. So they sat down, and for 7 days, Sarvabhauma expounded on the teachings of the Vedas, very intricate, logical, dry knowledge. And there's a deity of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sitting with Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya at the house of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. We just saw it. We were in Jagannath Puri. And Mahaprabhu's kind of looking off into the distance like this. And Sarvabhauma's expounding. So Sarvabhauma spoke for 7 days without stopping, and Mahaprabhu didn't say, Chaitanya didn't say anything. So finally, Sarvabhauma said, do you have any questions? No. Do you understand what I'm saying? He said, I understand the subject matter, but your explanations are covering the self-luminous nature of these teachings. In other words, you're really blowing it here. And this elderly a scholar who was famous everywhere. Everyone worshipped him as a great scholar. Was just, oh, what do you mean? So then, with the coaxing of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, Chaitanya then began to speak. And there's much said about this, and there are many details about what he said. And you can read about it in this book, Chaitanya Charitamrita. The whole dialogue is there. It goes on for several chapters. It's riveting. You won't be able to put it down. And so Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, who had this huge intellect, realized he was talking to somebody whose intellect was beyond a human. He couldn't fathom the way he was using the Sanskrit language and dividing and looking at the roots and the logic that he was presenting. And Sarvabhauma, it came into his mental system that, I think I'm sitting here with God. That's the way that his heart was changed. And besides that, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya had a nephew named Gopinathacharya. And Gopinathacharya was a great devotee of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he had had an argument with Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya while Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was still in that state of unconsciousness. And he said, this is God, to Gopinathacharya. And Sarvabhauma said, what are you talking about? God doesn't appear in this age. It's the age of Kali. And Gopinathacharya said, no, it's in the Srimad Bhagavatam. There's a verse by Prahlad Maharaj. It starts with, Itam nrityad rishi jeva jashavatarar. And at the end it says, Chana kalo yarabhavastri yogo tasatvam, which means that God appears in every one of the yugas. Remember I talked about it earlier? He said, but in this yuga, Kali Yuga, he comes as Chana, or a covered avatar. You can't tell it's God, because in this age, people really don't appreciate God that much. So he came as a devotee of God to teach how to serve God in this age. And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said to his nephew, he said, well, how do you know he's God? And he said, because I got his mercy, that's how I know. And that's why you don't know. And this is an interesting point, because the personality, any personality doesn't have to reveal his or her nature to you. They don't have to tell you anything. But it's likely that if you become their best friend, or if you become intimate with them, then they'll start to tell you everything about their life. And this is the process of bhakti. So because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was so impressed because Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was so impressed with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he finally decided that I surrender to you. And when he did, then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu revealed his divine nature. And there's a deity called Sadbhuj. Everyone say Sadbhuj. It's a six-armed form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And it's a very beautiful form. He revealed that and other divine forms to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, who then completely transformed and became a great devotee. And there's much talked about in that pastime that's in the Sri Caitanya Charitamrita. But one of the main points is that Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya wrote a verse after he had met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that says, Vairagya Vidya Nija Bhakti Yoga, Shikshartameka Purusha Purana, Shri Krishna Chaitanya Shariradhari, Kripambudiryas Tamaham Prapadye. And in this verse, he's extolling the virtues of Krishna in this form. And he says, Nija Bhakti, you've come to teach your own path, directly teach how to reach Bhagavan, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And it's by the mercy of the devotees that one comes to know Krishna. And so later in the pastime, it's revealed that the reason that Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya could finally understand who Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was because of his connection with Gopinathacharya, who was his nephew, who was a pure devotee of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Mahaprabhu approved of that and appreciated it. And we find throughout the Srimad Bhagavatam and this book, the Sri Caitanya Charitamrita, that the ways in which the hearts of the participants in the Leela change is because they have association not necessarily with Krishna or Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but with the devotees. And there's a great secret given in the Srimad Bhagavatam which says, Bhavad vida bhagavatas tirta bhuta swayam vivo, tirta kurvanti tirtani swantak snena gadabrita. And this means that the devotees are so special because they carry love for Krishna within their heart. And therefore, when you meet them, it rubs off on you. You get this kind of impression that, wow, maybe I'd like to be like that too. And therefore, it's mentioned throughout the Srimad Bhagavatam, even Krishna himself says, Yad Bhakta Puja Bhyadika. It's more important to honor a devotee or to be with devotees than it is to be with me. Because they have something even I don't have. Imagine that, coming from God. And that is love for God. And so, throughout this Chaitanya Charitamrita, we find very loving ways in which people are touched by other devotees and then start to dedicate their life to spiritual practice. And this is one of the main and essential points of the Srimad Bhagavatam and the Sri Caitanya Charitamrita. And if you talk to devotees throughout the world, even in modern day, you'll find that this is usually the case, that someone came in contact with a devotee somewhere and said, that person really impressed me, and I wanted to be with them more, and gradually I became a devotee too. So, because so many people requested, we got calls last night, some of them came in at 12 midnight, that there were a few complaints. They said that, okay, you did that program on Sunday morning. Was it Sunday morning? Yes. Okay, I don't even know where I am. And I missed it. Everybody else got a chance to take a Sri Caitanya Charitamrita, but I didn't get a chance. So I'm sorry. We only had so much time. We only have so much time now. So Hansapriya and Malini, are you here? Just happens to be right here. Asked me to present to you an opportunity we have for the next 10 minutes. If any of you who had written or called in and said, you know, how come I didn't get a chance? Well, now's even a better chance. If you'd like to take a set of Sri Caitanya Charitamrita, you can take it tonight. It's $99, comma, only. And also, if you want one sent to a friend somewhere, will we arrange for that? Well, you can sponsor it and just say, like, here's my Venmo, PayPal, Cash App, ePay. What is it called in India? GPay. GPay, whatever. We don't take GPay though, but I'm sorry. So whatever you have, we'll put it on the list. We have ways of taking it. You can just sponsor it. You can sponsor more than one. I think somebody at the end yesterday sponsored 50 sets to be distributed to various people. But it's a good thing to do on a holy day. And if any of you are really feeling way late in life because you have too much cash and it's really bugging you, and it's like, what am I going to do with all this? And it's bothering me, you can relieve your pain and agony for the next 10 minutes. So, okay, now we have 7 minutes because I've been talking so much. So go ahead, you have 7 minutes. If you'd like to pledge one, we'll write your name down and put it on the list. Kanka. Now, give Malini a microphone. You do the heavy lifting here. I'll be an encourager.
2 sets for Kanka Mataji.
2 sets for Kanka.
And also, if you're watching online and if you'd like to text in, the phone number is 408-515-5292. And the number again is 408-515-5292. And we got a message from Neelamani Krishna Chandra Prabhu. He would like to sponsor 2 sets of Chaitanya Charitamrita.
Haribol! Okay, everyone can participate. So when anybody sponsors one, then you say Haribol really loud.
Okay, Vrindavana Nattabara Prabhu.
Good. What a good memory.
2 more sets. One in the name of Sharti Kraisnikunda Prabhu and one for Nikunjanai.
Haribol!
So this message is from Jagrati Tiwari. 2 sets from Jagrati Tiwari.
Haribol!
Haribol! Sorry, it's not Tiwari, it's Trivedi. And 2 sets from Dinkar Jain.
Haribol!
1 set from Satvika Devidasi.
Haribol!
Shivakumar Prabhu, wants to sponsor 2 sets of Chaitanya Charitamrita. Somebody there can't see. Nimish Prabhu, 2 sets of Chaitanya Charitamrita.
Haribo!
Prabhu, your name? Shankar Rao Prabhu is sponsoring 1 set of Chaitanya Charitamrita. This message is from Vishaka Leela Mataji. She wants to sponsor 2 sets for her parents who are visiting ISV. And she's requesting prayers for them as well.
Hare Krishna. Okay, we got 4 more minutes.
So Deepa Sangam, 1 set of Chaitanya Charitamrita.
We have one here. Go ahead.
I want to sponsor 5 sets of Chaitanya Charitamrita.
Kunji doesn't just sponsor, she also distributes the Bhagavatam and CC. Right? Thank you, Kunji.
Okay, this message is from Ananda Prema, and they're sponsoring 2 sets, and they're saying they're missing ISV and they're from Pune.
Adin Prabhu also distributed a set to Akash. Is he around here? Akash? I saw him somewhere earlier. So thank you, Prabhu. There. He distributed a set to Akash today.
Haribo!
Haribo. Deepika. 1 set for Deepika.
Sukarupa Mataji wants 2 sets of Chaitanya Charitamrita. This is Sudarshanam Krishna and wanted to sponsor 1 set of Chaitanya Charitamrita. It's actually not sponsored, it's for himself. Haribo!
We have Mayank and Suman would like to sponsor 11 sets.
Nitya Tarangini Mataji would like to sponsor 1 set on behalf of Gita Priya. Oh, this message is from Damodar Vamshidhari Prabhu and Aruna Madhavi Devi Dasi, and they want to sponsor 1 set of Chaitanya Charitamrita.
Balivardhan Prabhu, were you just saying Haribol or?
3 minutes left for anyone who wants to take a set of Chaitanya Charitamritas on Gaura Purnima.
Niharika and Remuna. How many sets, Remu? 1 set for Remuna. We have Manjuri Gopika and Achita Kumar. Kishore is sponsoring 2 sets. 20 sets. Haribo! 20.
20 sets.
Ekeshwari Radha would like to sponsor 1 set. Vijay Gopu, he cannot even get into the hall, but he's doing this from the back. He's sponsoring 5 sets from the back. Vijay Gopu, Haribo.
This message is from Prahlad for his sister Shubhangi's birthday on 5th March. 1 set of Chaitanya Charitamrita.
Our own Kumari and Haldarupa Prabhu would like to sponsor 20 sets.
2 minutes left.
Mataji, your name? Sai. Saili would like to sponsor 2 sets of Chaitanya Charitamrita.
Avnish, can I see the... Yes, Prabhu. What's your name, Prabhu? 1 set? Prabhu, your name, please. Naveen Krishna Das, Prabhu, 1 set. Haribo.
1 minute left.
Venu Gita, 2 sets. Vishakha, 2 sets.
Haribol. Balimardan Prabhu. Haribol. 1 set for Ramananda Saka Prabhu by Balimardan Prabhu.
Rasa Sindhu Prabhu, 3 sets.
3 sets.
Okay.
20 seconds left.
SKP Prabhu would like to sponsor 1 set for his parents whose wedding anniversary was yesterday.
Haribol! Sindhu Kanya has her hand up.
So
2 sets for Sindhu Kanya.
Sindhu Kanya 2 sets.
we have Pankaj Prabhu and Radhakripa Prabhu rolling in. And we have 5 sets for Bhakti community. Haribol. Yes, Sadhu Vrindavan. 1 set for your grandpa. Haribol.
This message is from Sri Kumar Prabhu, and on behalf of Uddhava and Madhava, they would like to sponsor 50 sets of Chaitanya Charitamrita.
Haribol.
10 seconds left. Okay, I'm going to have to count down. The program must go on, and then the opportunity will be lost, but you can stop the countdown. Krishna 10, Krishna 9, Krishna 8, Krishna
Malini.
Prabhu, this is Radhakripa Prabhu texting all the way from India. On behalf of his mother, Shanti Devi Dasi, he would like to sponsor 5 sets.
Haribol! Krishna 10, Krishna 9, Krishna 8, Krishna 7, Krishna 6, Krishna 5, Krishna 4.
Shri Antariksha Prabhu would like to sponsor 1 set of Chaitanya Charitamrita.
Haribol! Krishna 10, Krishna 9, Krishna 8, Krishna 7, Krishna 6.
Yes. Name.
Your name?
Nagar Kirtan Prabhu, 1 set. Haribol!
Jagani, what's her name?
What's your name? Urvasi Chandrika. Yes. 1 set for
1 set to Peru. Krishna 10.
We'll ship anywhere in the world, right?
What?
We'll ship anywhere in the world.
Yeah, we have a free trade agreement. It's called LAFTA, Latin American Free Trade Agreement. We opened it up last year. Krishna 10, Krishna 9, Krishna 8.
Shalini Mataji and Santosh Prabhu would like to sponsor 2 sets for Guru Maharaj and Guru Ma.
Haribol! Krishna
Hari
10,
San-
Krishna 9.
Hari Sankirtan Prabhu would like to sponsor 1 set on behalf of Krishna Priya, whose birthday is tomorrow.
Haribol! Krishna 10, Krishna 9, Krishna
We have
8, Krishna.
Vasant Prabhu sponsoring for Kunja Sevika, and he's seeking a prayers for her health. 1 set.
Haribol!
Krishna 10, Krishna 9, Krishna 8.
This message is from Diane from Las Vegas and would like to get a set for herself.
Haribol! Thank you, Diane. Krishna 10, Krishna 9.
Ujjwala Rasa Mataji would like to sponsor 2 sets for Guru Maharaj and Guru Ma.
Haribol! Krishna 10, Krishna 9, Krishna 8.
Neelamani Krishna Chandra Prabhu would like to add 2 more, so total 4 sets for Neelamani Prabhu.
Haribol! Krishna 10, Krishna 9, Krishna 8, Krishna 7, Krishna 6, Krishna 5, Krishna 4.
Srivas Chandra Prabhu. 2 sets for Vaisesika Prabhu and Mother Nirakula.
Krishna 10, Krishna 9, Krishna 8, Krishna 7, Krishna 6, Krishna 5.
Akshar Nitai Prabhu would like to sponsor One set. Haribol.
Krishna 10, Krishna 9, Krishna 8, Krishna 7, Krishna 6, Krishna 5, Krishna 4, Krishna 3.
Gita Priya and I would like to sponsor 50 sets of Chaitanya Charitamrita on behalf of Srivas Pandit Prabhu.
Krishna 10, Krishna 9, Krishna 8, Krishna 7, Krishna 6, Krishna 5, Krishna 4, Krishna 3.
Reshma Mataji would like to sponsor one or get one? Sponsor one. Haribol!
Besides LAFTA, we also have NIFTA, which is North America, India Free Trade Agreement too. So if you want them to go to India, they can too. Krishna 10, Krishna 9, Krishna 8, Krishna 7, Krishna...
We have some here.
So Prema Kishori Mataji writes that this Gaura Purnima is my first year Mantra Diksha anniversary and would like to sponsor for Guru Ma and Guru Maharaj 2 sets of Chaitanya Charitamrita.
Haribol! Krishna 10.
We have a Sophie, who is a friend of Mother Shraddha. She would like to sponsor 2 sets for Ramananda Sakha Prabhu and Vaisesika Prabhu.
Haribol! Way to go, Sophie. Krishna 10, Krishna 9, Krishna 8, Krishna 7, Krishna 6, Krishna 5, Krishna 4, Krishna 3, Krishna 2.
I'll
Krishna.
I'll sponsor 5 sets for my father, Bir Krishna Prabhu, in the back.
Krishna 10, Krishna 9, Krishna 8, Krishna 7, Krishna 6, Krishna 5, Krishna 4, Krishna
Your
3.
name, sir? Bhakta. Here, Bhakta. I couldn't say your name, sorry, but Bhakta would like to sponsor 1 set.
He couldn't say his name. What's his name?
Name, we need the name.
It's for Sean.
Sean? I'll never get it from back here.
Oh, you're Rasaraj.
Oh, it's Rasaraj.
You're coming from UVA.
Oh, Jai.
Oh, welcome.
Krishna
Thank you.
10, Krishna 9, Krishna...
We have 1 in the back, Swarna Gopika.
Haribol!
Preeti wants to sponsor Preeti 1 for Shraddha Mataji and Rakesh Prabhu.
Krishna 10, Krishna 9, Krishna 8, Krishna 7, Krishna
Malin.
6, Krishna 5.
Sirisha Mataji and Dhira Prashanta Prabhu would like to sponsor 2 sets on behalf of Sindhu and Aditi.
Haribol! Krishna 10, Krishna 9.
Nikunja Nayaka Prabhu would like to sponsor 2 sets of Chaitanya Charitamrita on behalf of Guru Maharaj and Guru Ma.
Haribol! Krishna 10.
Sophie wrote back again and she said 2 more sets for you, means me, and Shraddha Mataji. Haribol.
Haribol! Krishna 10, Krishna 9, Krishna 8, Krishna 7, Krishna 6, Krishna 5, Krishna 4, Krishna 3, Krishna 2, Krishna 1, Krishna point 5, Krishna point 05, Krishna point...
Tapamoy Prabhu.
Prabhu, this is Jagruti Trivedi, 2 sets for Guru Maharaj and Guru Ma.
Haribol!
We have Tapomoy Prabhu here. We would like to also sponsor 2 sets.
Haribol!
And for Guru Maharaj and Guru Ma. Haribol.
Prabhu, so this message is from Radhakripa Prabhu again. He would like to sponsor 5 sets for the pleasure of Guru Maharaj and Guru Ma. This is from Priya Kishori. She would like to sponsor 5 sets for Sharad Bihari Mukunda Prabhu.
Haribol!
Haribol!
Vaisesika Prabhu, Nirakula Mataji, and her mother, Gandharvika Radha Devidasi.
Krishna 10, Krishna 9, Krishna 8, Krishna 7, Krishna 6, Krishna 5.
Anayame wants to sponsor 5 sets of Chaitanya Charitamrita.
Haribo!
Mukaravinda Prabhu Ananga Gopika Devidasi would like to sponsor 1 set for Michael and 1 set for Agni.
Haribo! Krishna 10,
Maybe last
Krishna
round.
9, 8, 7, 6.
Achita Kumar Prabhu would like to sponsor 2 sets of Chaitanya Charitamrita.
Haribo!
Last call? Very last call, maybe. Before we go to MSF.
Thank you, everybody, for coming to this event. It's really important to keep the transcendental vibration going. And just now we're going to, was that anticlimactic? It won't be, you'll see. We're going to have an offering to Srila Prabhupada, and then we're going to follow with Artik. And we're going to make, we'll stand up in just a minute, put the seats back away, and we'll roll up this carpet. It'll take us 2 minutes and 32 seconds for the whole thing. And then we're going to make an arc around Srila Prabhupada's Vyasasan, and the Sankirtan devotees are going to make an offering of the scores from our book distribution over the last month. Sri Gopal Prabhu just sponsored 5 sets. Haribo!
We have few more, and we can actually continue to take more. We will announce it towards the end of the announcement.
We will.
But we have 1 from Arun Prabhu, 1 set from Jaikanya Prabhu, and 2 set from Vamshi Mohan Prabhu.
Haribo! Now, we'll stand up and move the seats, and then everyone can position themselves in front of Srila Prabhupada's Vyasasana, and we'll be right back in 2 minutes. This goes back there. We're going to do...
No, we keep it. We'll announce it. I'll announce it last. Hare Krishna, can we get all the mothers? Okay, if you can hear me, please raise your hand. All the mothers on the right side near the arches. And all the Prabhus on the left side of the pillar. Okay, let me go there. All the Prabhus on the right side, if you can see my hand. Hare Krishna, all the Prabhus, you can face towards the Srila Prabhupada. Let's face towards the Srila Prabhupada. All the Prabhus, if you can hear me, please raise your hand. All the mothers, now the carpet has been rolled up, so please, all the mothers on the left side, and keep the hallway clear. All the Prabhus on the right. Hare Krishna, can we give a pathway for Vaisesika Prabhu to come through? My dear mothers, give a pathway for Vaisesika Prabhu to come through. All the Prabhus on the right side. Hare Krishna. Haribo. Okay, we're just about to begin. If we can have your support, just we can keep it quiet for 1 minute.
We're going to perform a miracle. Are you ready? Say yes. Yes. Okay. Raise your hands. Everyone raise your hands. Everyone raise your hands. We're going to do a miracle. In the hallway, raise your hands. Everyone, raise your hand. Over there in the corner, raise your hand. Okay? Here's the miracle. I'm going to count down from 5, and we're going to go silent. So quiet, you'll be able to hear a flower petal hit the floor. Ready? Prikishori, you're in charge of the hallway. Everyone get ready. We're counting down. 5. Krishna 4. Now you're all sponsoring sets. Krishna 3. Krishna 2. Krishna 1. Semi-miracle. Now we're going to have an offering from the results of the book distribution and also a bhakti community. We'll go first, and then we'll have book distribution.
Hare Krishna. I am making the offering on behalf of all the Bhakti community volunteers. Dear Srila Prabhupada, please accept our most humble obeisances at the dust of your lotus feet. All glories to your divine grace. We are gathered here to offer the results of our 2023 Gaura Purnima monthly Sankirtan festival, MSF of Be the Gardener. From Chaitanya Charitamrita Antilila 5.89, Chaitanya Charitamrita Nitya Karapan Yaha Haite Premananda Bhakti Tattva Gyan. Translation: O devotees, relish daily the nectar of Sri Caitanya Charitamrita and the pastimes of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, for by doing so, one can merge in the transcendental bliss and attain full knowledge of devotional service. The Bhakti community is a community for spiritual seekers who are interested in learning about the timeless wisdom and practices of Bhakti Yoga, the yoga of love and gratitude. With blessings of His Grace Vaisesika Prabhu and Her Grace Nirakula Mataji, the Bhakti community continued to inspire newcomers to pursue Bhakti through various weekly programs. This MSF Bhakti On program continued the lessons from the Bhagavad Gita series that was attended by around 25 people every week. The topics included the peace formula, the goal of yoga, and refine your desire, refine your life. On Thursdays, Bhakti Circle Discover Yourself, a 32-week program that systematically introduces Bhakti Yoga to newcomers, was conducted. The topics covered were the mind, a friend or foe, moods and mode, and the law of karma and infallible justice. The session was attended by around 20 people weekly. On Fridays, Success Sadhana continued the Superpower series, discussing topics such as satisfaction is the doorway to bliss and yoga of the tongue. Around 25 people attended these programs weekly. On Sundays, the Women's Circle program continued the Introduction to Bhagavad Gita series. Around 10 women attend these programs weekly. The Bhakti community continued the Bhakti Circle program at Mountain House that was attended by around 25 newcomers. Newcomers really liked the engaging video presentation and casual discussion format. Inspired, few of the newcomers are now visiting the temple regularly. Bhakti community, the Spanish version of Bhakti community, which is called Comunidad Bhakti, for Spanish-speaking people, continue to meet with various newcomers for various Bhakti classes, including weekly Bhakti Circle program and weekly Japa Circle. They have also started reading from wisdom literatures. The session were attended by around 23 members weekly. Bhakti community's sole purpose is to associate newcomers with Vaishnavas so that newcomers can progress in Bhakti Yoga. Vaishnava Savalanga, Lava, or VSL, is a metric that measures how many times a newcomer comes in association with a Vaishnava through a devotional service class. For this MSF, Comunidad Bhakti's goal was to achieve 720 VSLs. We are happy to report that Comunidad Bhakti, which is the Spanish version, surpassed the goal and achieved 920 VSLs. Around 23 newcomers attended Comunidad Bhakti weekly. For this MSF, Bhakti Community Silicon Valley's goal was to achieve 1,260 VSLs. We are happy to report that Bhakti Community Silicon Valley surpassed the goal and achieved 1,522 VSLs. Around 60 newcomers attended the Bhakti community programs this MSF. We are eternally indebted and grateful to all the volunteers, room leaders, speakers, mentors, and book distributors who work tirelessly every day to fulfill Srila Prabhupada's mission and spread Krishna consciousness in the Western world. We also want to thank each of our donors who help us maintain the Bhakti community. And finally, our most heartful, sincere gratitude to His Grace Vaisesika Prabhu and Her Grace Nirakula Mataji. It's only due to their presence, leadership, and motivation that the Bhakti community exists and is thriving. Bhakti community gets the opportunity to serve newcomers due to the tireless efforts of all the book distribution teams who introduce Bhakti community to these newcomers. Now SKP Prabhu will present the book distribution results. Hare Krishna.
Dear Srila Prabhupada, please accept our humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Lord Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu formula is Harer Nama Iva Kevalam Kalau Nasteva 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 Gatiranyata. In this age of crawler and hypocrisy, the only means of deliverance is chanting the holy name of the Lord. There is no other way, there is no other way, there is no other way. Our Sankirtan festivals owe a lot to Lord Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, who started this movement with his associates, the Panchatattva, going from town to town and door to door distributing the holy name. To continue following in the footsteps of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, Team ISV organized a Sankirtan Yajna to spread the holy name and Krishna consciousness throughout the Bay Area. Goals. The goals of this MSF were to distribute at least 108 Sri Caitanya Charitamrita sets from beginning of the year to Gaura Purnima, to meditate on the pastimes of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu from Sri Caitanya Charitamrita, read and share at least one verse about Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, finalize the goals and plans for 2023. To realize these goals, ISV devotees conducted massive book distribution over 5 weekends, going door to door, distribute Chaitanya Charitamrita states and Srila Prabhupada books. And Chaitanya Charitamrita states were also installed at some homes. Team ISV had the department leaders and presented the goals for each of them. It was enlivening and encouraging to see all of them united in one purpose to increase the Sankirtan in 2023 through many ideas. Highlights for this MSF. Both adults from various teams, Team ISV, Western Preaching Team, Mortal Gita, other ISV departments, as well as Kids Sankirtan team participated in book distribution. Team ISV Kids distributed 81 Sri Caitanya Charitamrita sets. And they also distributed 7 Srimad Bhagavatam sets. They collected $4,362 in 10 cents and also distributed 3,520 book points. Team Mortal Gita placed a trial digital version scanner board at one hotel to try it out. Based on the response, they may decide next steps on updating into other areas. Team Mortal Gita attended New Jersey trade show in April. Will be conducting the annual trade show in Los Angeles. Team Mortal Gita also distributed 2,000 Bhagavad Gitas. Western Sankirtan team conducted a multiple meetings to come up with the strategy to expand the book distribution for this year. As Gaura Purnima approached, the team distributed complete Chaitanya Charitamrita sets in masses on streets. The first time ever, team distributed more than 100 sets of Chaitanya Charitamrita. In total, they distributed 101 Chaitanya Charitamrita sets, 4 Srimad Bhagavatam sets, and collected 16,644 Lakshmi points. And they distributed 8,284 book points. Western team has had a huge success distributing at various spots in Bay Area like Fremont Hindu Temple, Shivaratri Festival, Balaji Temple, Mountain View Downtown, and Chat Bhavan Restaurants and Lovers Land Festival in San Francisco. His Grace Vaisesika Prabhu did a spontaneous call for sponsoring Sri Caitanya Charitamrita sets in Mayapur, India, and 50 devotees sponsored the sets. As we made this offering of these MSF results, we are pleased to report that the book points and Lakshmi goals had met and surpassed. In all, more than 200 devotees participated in book distribution. Team ISV distributed 19,761 book points. Team ISV distributed 13 Srimad Bhagavatam sets, including 864 Sri Caitanya Charitamrita sets, and out of which 242 were distributed and rest were sponsored. Team ISV raised $87,553 and 1,25,000 Indian rupees total Lakshmi. We thank all participant devotees, donors, Sankirtan leaders who contributed to this MSF, and last but not least, our awe and gratitude to His Grace Vaisesika Prabhu and Nirukula Mataji and all assembled Srila Prabhupada devotees, disciples, for inspiring everyone to go out on Sankirtan. Haribo! monthly Sankirtan festival of B. Gardner Ki, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu Ki.
Our special thanks to the tireless efforts, Jai Madhava Prabhu, Pavani Bhakti, Malini Devi Dasi, and our very own SKP for working hard day and night to surpass the goals and to reach out to people all over the Bay Area and all over the world. And thank you everyone for working so hard towards these goals. Gaura Premanande Haribol. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Nami Namo Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavani Paschatyarishakarine Chande Arotiko Shobha Kiba Jayo Jaya Gaura Chande Chandrajini Vadana Hujvala Bahu Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Go Premanande Haribo. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare. Mela. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Govinda Jai Jai, Gopala Jai Jai. 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 Radha Damana Hare Govinda Jai Jai. Radha Damana Hare Govinda Jai Jai. Radha Damana Hare. Come on now. Govinda Jai, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. We're going to do a prema dhwani, but you can stay standing and fold your hands. Jayom Vishwabha Paramahamsa Parivrajaka Shima Abhay Charanara Vinda Bhaktivedanta Sai Maharaj Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayom Vishwabha Paramahamsa Parivrajaka Shima Shila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Gosai Maharaj Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavi Ki Jai. Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Gaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sri Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shama Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Sri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Sri Mayapur Navadip Dham Ki Jai. Shri Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi ki jai, Jamuna Devi Ganga Devi ki jai, Sambheta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Jai Shri Gaura Purnima Maha Mahotsav ki jai, Shri Gauranga Mahaprabhu Avirbhav Maha Mahotsav ki jai. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Namaste Narashinghaya Pralaladadatayine Hiranyakashipurvakshaha Shilatanka Nakalaye Yato Nishingha Parato Nishingo Yato Yamitato Nishingha Bahir Nishingo Radege Nishingo Nishingha Mading Sharanam Prapadye Tavakara Kamalabure Nakamadita Shingam Dalita Hiranakashi Utanu Bringam Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Avakara Kamalabure Nakamaduta Shringam Dalithayirana Kashi Utanu Bringam Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jagadisha Hare Jaya Nishingadev 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 Jaya Nishingadev Doya Nitai Chaitanya Bol Nachyar Marman. I'll get it. Chaitanya Bole Nachyar Marman. Nachyar Marman. Nachyar Marman. Nachyar Marman. Nachyar Marman. Hey! Doyal Nitai Chaitanya Bhuti Nachyar Marman. Doyal Tonai Hey. Doyal Tonai Hey. Krishna ore apara dure jabe pabe premadam. Ore aparada dure jabe pabe premadam. Vichar tonai hai. Vichar tonai hai. Takon Krishna name ruchi habe guchi de pandan. Takon Krishna name ruchi habe guchi de pandan. Anuraggo habe hey. Anayase sapal habe jivera jivan. Takon anayase sapal habe jivera jivan. Jivanto miche hey. Jivanto miche hey. Krishna Jivanto miche hey. Krishna Jivanto miche hey. Gloria Sri Caitanya Sri Mama. Gloria Sri Caitanya. Radha Shamer Bhave Darshan. They say Vrindavane Radha Shamer Bhave Darshan. Everyone's looking for the perfect object of their eyes, their ears, their nose. All the senses hanker for something beautiful. But this material world has fading beauty only. Spiritual world is full of astonishing, ever-increasing, exhilarating beauty at every second. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu appeared on this day over 500 years ago to teach everybody here in Silicon Valley, everybody in Mill Valley, the East Bay of the Bay Area, and all over the world, the process of going back to that spiritual world. And when people walking through life thinking, is this all there is? Come in contact with Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. They suddenly start to sing as they're walking. And the sound is getting louder and louder all over the world. If we listen really carefully right now, we can hear everyone singing. Gaura Kripa Hole Hey. Gaura Kripa Hole Hey. Gaura Kripa Hole Hey. Gets louder. Gaura Kripa Hole Hey. And louder. Gaura Kripa Hole Hey. And louder. Gaura Kripa Hole Hey. Hey, Kripa Hole Hey. Go Kripa Hole Hey. Go Kripa Hole Hey. Dai Chaitanya Sri Amarman. Dai Chaitanya Sri Amarman. Sri Amarman. Sri Amarman. Sri Amarman. Sri Amarman. Hey! Jaya Gaura Nitai, Gaura Nitai, Gaura Nitai, Jaya Gaura Nitai. Nitai Gaur Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo. Goya Nitai, Chaitanya Bole, Nach, Re, Amar, Goya Nitai, Chaitanya Bole, Nach, Re, Amar. Nachiri Armarman, Nachiri Armarman, Nachiri Armarman, Nachiri Armarman. Hey! Nachiri Armarman, Nachiri Armarman, Nachiri Armarman. Do Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming to this kind of Silicon Valley. And now we are going to feed everybody in the whole Bay Area. And Hatsapri is going to tell us how.
Okay, Hare Krishna. Before I know I don't want to keep you away from your prasadam, but I have very quick few announcements. So if I can get a light, and you can be standing. You don't need to sit down. I assure you I'll be very quick. Okay. I just wanted to thank everyone for sponsoring 864 CC sets. And that's a huge on the Gaura Purnima, wonderful offering to Srila Prabhupada and the pleasure of the Lordships. We have a few sponsors, Hari Sankirtan Prabhu, sponsoring for Krishna Priya, Rishi Kumar Prabhu sponsoring for his wife, Kamakshi is sponsoring for Gaura Purnima, and the outfit sponsors, they would like your blessings. And the devotees who brought us the ahimsa milk from 4 hours away for the feast today. And we'd like to also thank Sri Lakshmi Mataji, who is also sponsoring for the festival. And we all pray for speedy recovery for Kunja Sevika, for her to be back at ISV. She's healing. Hopefully she can be here soon. And all the volunteers who help us to put the festival together. And now we'll get to prasadam.
Sharida Dijaja Jodendriya Taheka Jibe Pele Vishaya Shagare Dharma Jedi Mayati Loba Mansudumati Take Jeta Patita Samsara Krishna Bora Doya Moy Kori Bale Jiva Joy Shaprashad Nana Di Lopa Shayanamrita Pao, Radha Krishna Guna Gao, Preme Dako, Sri Caitanya Nitai, Paide Ekadina Shanti Pure, Prabhu Advaitira Gare, Dui Prabhu Bojane Boshilo, Shakori Ashwadana, Prabhu Bole Bhakta Gana, Eshak Krishna Ashwadilo, Heno Shakashwanane, Krishna Prema Aishe Mane, She Preme Koro Ashwadan, Jada Buri Parihari, Prasara Bhojana Kori, Hari Hari, Bola Sarvajan, Hari Hari. Bolo Sarvajan. Sade Govinde, Nam Brahmani Vaishave, Sapa Punya Padam Radham, Vishwa Chona Vijayate, Prasade Sarva Pitana, Adhyastu Padayate, Prasana Cheta Soyashi, Ujipaya Patishite, Vayopa Vista Sajana, Vasavam Karashashitaha, Ukrishna Bodhino Dasa, Davamayam Jaimahi, Bhagavashi Mahaprasada Ki, Go Premanande, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Please come take prasadam.
Many of you asked where to make the payment. So it's right here. See, there is a line. You can come here and make the payment for your CC sets. You're very welcome. And while you have to wait for prasadam, you can make a, payment donation here. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.